Tango Delta nominal.
Yep. Eagle com configured stable.
To the moon.
Driven stable. Touchdown.
What's going on, everyone? It's Jeranism, back with another video for you today. I have a reply for the great armored skeptic. So if you didn't notice, this brave warrior who thinks the flat earth concept is ancient, but wears a knight's helmet and makes money making fun of Christians, decided to attack my thoughts in not one, but two videos. Yeah, he certainly has some great skills. Let's all laugh at Christians and flat earthers. Yes, sir, you are a brave one. I'm sure that the atheist community can't wait for all your videos to come out so they can validate their hate for God and reinforce their beliefs in the dumbest theory ever, evolution. I mean, if you believe in evolution, the natural change over a period of many years through natural selection that have led simple-celled organisms to evolve over billions of years into, well, us, then of course you believe in the globe. You'll believe whatever scientism says, without question, blindly. You'll back it. No need to look into the facts or do any studies on your own. Just believe it. Even if you are closer to a T-Rex than the Stegosaurus is, even if they tell you that they can date rocks, even if they say that the laws of physics themselves all came from not intelligent thought, not design, nor order or some sort of universal oversight, it was just all natural. It came with the Big Bang. Laws. And lucky you, in 4.54 billion years, you were born into the 80-year segment of time that includes man discovering all this and being able to go back to the millisecond after the Big Bang happened. Yes, the intellectuals are truly in the house. Be afraid, be very afraid. Christians, hide your Bibles and forget what your priest and pastor says. It's time you listen to reason. Yes, a great collection of truths and cold hard facts assembled in great books known as textbooks. Yes, where you can read great stories like the Epic of Columbus, who discovered the Earth was a globe 25,000 miles in circumference by sailing 4,200 miles, or the story of the apple and the wealth of knowledge gained when it fell upon the head of the great Freemason, Sir Isaac Newton. Yes, they have their holy books, their high priests, but these men are of science, never a lie told or a result fudged to secure government funding, only facts. So lock your doors and hide your underage daughters. Here is the Armored Skeptic. Oh, well, that's rather non-threatening. There we go. Ooh, the Armored Skeptic. So to start off, I thought I'd define skeptic, in case you didn't know what that means. It's described as a person inclined to question or doubt all accepted opinions. And the part that I didn't get a chance to put in there was except the globe. That's totally true. So add that to the definition. You can see here his quote or his caption about me that says, "The Armored Skeptic has decided to expand his horizons and debunk a different kind of anti-science moron. In this installment, Sir Skeptalot debunks a flat earther. Yes, they still do exist. What the f***? So, here's my first issue. I have a Patreon page where people can donate money if they so wish, and so that I can continue on my search for truth while reminding others to do their own research in every single video I do. And currently I make $330 a month thanks to my subscribers. Now, Sir Skeptabit over here makes $1,250 per video to seek out Christians on YouTube and then do nothing more than laugh at them and make little rude remarks. It is disgusting that in less than a week, this knight in hiding armor made $2,500 off nothing more than some stupid classic responses and ridiculous claims you can easily find in the comment section of any of my videos written by 16-year-olds. So I get accused of stealing money when I go out on a limb talking about what I see, coming up with drawings and proofs out of my head, while this guy just gets to laugh and make fun of me and make easy money. I mean, nothing more daunting than the Christian-bashing skeptic. Ooh, is he going to bring a few skeptical inquiries to the fight? Maybe a baby born of a virgin insult or the all-powerful 2,000-year-old book believer accusation? Oh no. And for the record, I am a skeptic, and I'm not a Christian. But as long as you bring some good facts to the table and some eye-opening observations, then this should be good. So, and if you want to see the quality of human beings who watch the Skeptibits videos, just click the link below. Yes, I actually link to his videos. I don't just use the content to make $2,500 with no attribution at all. But just check the kind of comments that are coming from this Richard Dawkins fan club, and you'll see what kind of winners come out of the atheist camp. So let's see, Skeletor, what kind of info you're bringing. Give it to me.
I want you to meet a friend of mine that I've created, because all my friends are created. His name is Lanky Larry.
Hello.
Lanky Larry is the height of the tallest building in the world in Dubai, and he's on a planet that's much, much smaller than the moon.
Okay, so far we're on the same page. Yes, all your friends are created, and the tallest building in Dubai, which is the same height as Lanky Larry, 2,717 feet. Shoot.
When Lanky Larry looks to his left and right, he can only see so far before the horizon escapes him, and it seems to be about the same distance on both sides where he's standing. And if he looks to his front and his back, he will again only be able to see so far before the horizon escapes him. If you look from a bird's eye view of what he can see, it's a perfect circle. So no matter what direction he looks at, the horizon is in the exact same spot. So from his perspective, he just sees a flat line, and this is why the world looks flat to people who are on top of a ball.
Oh, the horizon.
Okay, but to be on a ball 25,000 miles in circumference, that would mean that you can only see 3.1 miles to the horizon for a 6-foot observer, and I've personally seen 15 miles, and many people from the Michigan shore have seen the Chicago skyline, which is 60 miles away. Got Felix Baumgartner at 127,000 feet. You can look out his little window there, and what do you see? Curved or flat?
Flat. Do you remember Lanky Larry? Lanky Larry's head is well above where Felix Baumgartner's pod was.
Whoa. Wait a second. Say that again, please. I'm lost.
Lanky Larry is the height of the tallest building in the world.
Got Felix Baumgartner at 127,000 feet.
Do you remember Lanky Larry? Lanky Larry's head is well above where Felix Baumgartner's pod was.
I'm sorry, Bob. With Larry standing as tall as the Burj Khalifa at 2,717 feet, we were looking for way below the pod height of 128,000 feet. Valiant effort, but 2,717 is less than 128,000 feet. We'll see you next time.
That I'm being a proper skeptic, how about I go through this video here?
I did want to point out, in case anybody didn't know, that I don't know shit, in case you didn't know that. And second, neither do you.
You see, Mini Skeptic, that's a really honest approach to this subject matter. He's admitting that he doesn't know everything, and I'll admit too that I don't know everything. In fact, I don't know much about the flat earth subject. That's why I've been avoiding it for so long.
Well, you seem very truthful, so if you have any questions about the flat earth, just email me. Oh wait, you spent 2 videos making fun of me. Never mind. In my videos, if you do see something you don't agree with, or you don't believe, or you have evidence against, comment.
That's what I do.
I don't care what the established belief is. I don't care what we were all taught. It doesn't matter to me anymore, because human beings lie, and when money's involved, they lie constantly.
Well, I can honestly see that being a concern when you're dealing with a corporation that's trying to sell you something, but I don't know, NASA really has no reason to lie to you, do they?
Oh boy, the armored and blind skeptic. NASA doesn't have a reason to lie? Then you really aren't looking at things very skeptically, are you? Over $1 trillion in 50 years of taxpayers' money, with 8,000 satellites at an average price of $250 million. That's another $2 trillion stolen from U.S. companies. Think of the merchandise, the museum tours, the books, the magazines, so on and so forth. You're right, no reason at all. Don't bring me any of that stupid gravity bullshit that doesn't work and people will sit there and argue back and forth with when they have no idea even what it means.
I'm sorry, are you saying that you will not take gravity as evidence that the world is round? Gravity is really good evidence that the world is round.
Number 1, it's impossible.
No, it's not. Why is it impossible?
Number 2, it can't be shown to be true.
Can't be shown to be true? We've known that gravity has existed since long before we knew what gravity was.
You're telling me the same force that keeps my feet glued to the Earth's Earth's surface also keeps the moon in orbit around the Earth, and same thing that keeps us in orbit around the sun. That right there makes no sense.
I see. It makes sense if you know what gravity is. See, Newton told us how gravity worked, but he wasn't able to figure out what gravity was. It wasn't until Einstein came along and told us that gravity is when large masses sitting in space displace space the same way a boat displaces water in a bathtub. Normally, space has no properties, no gravity, no direction, no up or down, but when you add a planet or a planetoid or a sun into space, you basically bend space. You push space out away from that object, and space tries its best to force its way back to where it used to be, but it can't because there's an object in the way, and instead ends up pushing other planets and ourselves down towards that surface. Now, the reason the moon doesn't come down and hit the Earth is because it's traveling so fast that it's escaping the world's gravity, but not fast enough to escape the world's gravitational pull, and that's why it is in orbit.
Wow, you are a skeptic indeed. If it is in a science book or found on Wikipedia, it is truth in stone to you. Why aren't I orbiting the Earth? Do I need to get fatter? If I get real fat like the moon, then I can orbit the Earth?
Oh, no. I can help you orbit the Earth right now. Quick, get in. I'll fire you off real fast. You see these guys right here? They look like they're weightless, and technically they are, but they are orbiting the Earth. The only reason they're not quickly crashing into the Earth's surface is because they're traveling so fast they're escaping the Earth's gravitational pull.
I don't have a team, as all I'm doing is searching for truth and using my own eyes, which works pretty well. You should try it.
Yeah, but using your own eyes to observe what's happening only gives you such a small piece of the picture. You should probably read some of that gravity research.
Oh, I've done the studies. Let's just go through the definition of gravity. You tell me if it sounds a little far-fetched. Gravity has a negligible influence on the behavior of subatomic particles and plays no role in determining the internal properties of everyday matter. But see quantum gravity. On the other hand, gravity is the dominant force at the macroscopic scale. That is the cause of the formation, shape, and trajectory, the orbits of all astronomical bodies, including those of asteroids, comets, planets, stars, and galaxies. It is responsible for causing the Earth and other planets to orbit the Sun, for causing the Moon to orbit the Earth, for the formation of tides, for natural convection by which fluid flow occurs under the influence of density gradients and gravity, for heating the interiors of forming stars and planets to very high temperatures, for solar system, galaxy, stellar formation and evolution, and for various other phenomena observed on Earth and throughout the universe. Yep.
Gravity has been established for hundreds of years now.
Of course, you'd have to get your head out of Richard Dawkins' lap and stop masturbating to the globe.
Oh, good one. Except Richard Dawkins is an evolutionary biologist. He doesn't study cosmology or physics.
But I loved your book, as I love, this is the second installment of your autobiography, because, you know, you talk about the wonder of science probably better than anybody. And of course, it's a little bit of a difficult mission because the more you explain how wonderful and amazing science is, the more the other side says, well, yeah, because God did it.
Yes.
Whatever you say, they just turn it against you and say, well, fucking God did it. What do you expect? You're right. I have no question. I realized at the end of that sentence.
Okay. I think that the wonder of science, above all, is precisely that God didn't do it. The wonder is that we do understand how it came about. We do understand how life in particular came about with nothing but the laws of physics, nothing but atoms bumping into each other and then filtered through the curious process that Darwin discovered. It gives rise to us and kangaroos and trees and walruses. What's truly wonderful is that it came about without being designed. If it had been designed, anybody could do that. I mean, it's the fact that it came about just through the laws of physics. Naturalism is what's so wonderful about it.
And there are things about us that are still not intelligent in the design, right?
You can say that again, yes.
What, are you thinking specifically of the prostate? Because as I move into my I'm getting ready to be 60, and that's a strange little organ. You really want to keep that one in good shape, or else.
So far, I'm okay.
Yeah, me too. But you know, I pray to Jesus every day about it. Well, I mean, you say we know how life began, but we don't know how it all began. That is still...
We'll leave that to Neil Tyson, I think.
Yes,
yeah.
But even he don't know.
That's true. We don't know that, but what one thing we do know is that it won't help to postulate a designer, because you've still got the problem
Right.
of where he came from, she came from.
Right, okay. Oh, politically correct. Yeah, smart for this crowd. Okay, so another thing I love about your book is that, you know, you go after the idea that atheists are humorless and somehow angry, which, yes, I hear that too. And
Yeah.
it's so silly because, to me, it's the religious people who are angry.
They're angry and they're humorless as well. I mean, we
Yeah.
we have a lot to laugh at when you think about it.
Right, oh. People say to me all the time, you know, Bill, you're such a meanie. It's so easy to make fun of religion. And I always say, yes, because it's fucking stupid.
Yes.
It's not a coincidence that it's a comedically rich target.
That's true.
Humorless and angry. Sounds a lot like atheist to me. And comedically rich target. Well, it's also easy to make $2,500 on a weekend, too. I had to put this part in, though, just because anyone who makes fun of Neil is a friend of mine.
So you're the Lenin and you're the Trotsky. You're the Bin Laden and you're the Zawahiri. You're Willie Mays and you're Hank Aaron. Okay.
Well, why must we be other people? We can be ourselves.
Why must you wear that vest? Okay. We could ask why. All right. What is currently the most exciting area of scientific development?
The origin of life is something we don't know anything about, and we want to know something about it. And I would love to know how life actually got started, the origin of the first self-replicating entity. I think that the wonder of science, above all, is precisely that God didn't do it. The wonder is that we do understand how it came about. We do understand how life in particular came about with nothing but the laws of physics, nothing but atoms bumping into each other, and then filtered through the curious process that Darwin discovered. It gives rise to us and kangaroos and trees and walruses. The origin of life is something we don't know anything about, and we want to know something about it. And I would love to know how life actually got started. God didn't do it. The wonder is that we do understand how it came about. We do understand how life in particular came about.
I'm not a biologist, and that's my top 3 things as well. Okay. Just how do you go from organic molecules to self-replicating life? That happened in the early Earth, and it happened relatively quickly. Very shortly after it could have possibly happened, it happened.
Maybe this has been brought up before, but lightning hit it?
Well, you know, that was
Have you guys thought of that?
So why am I talking flat Earth? Well, it's because I wanted to start from a place of certainty. And to me, it's a certainty.
How can you be certain? Have you seen the edges of the Earth yourself? Even I'm not certain, and I accept that the world is round, even though I've never seen the roundness of the globe with my own eyes.
Oh, so you're saying that you have faith in the globe. A person inclined to question or doubt all accepted opinions, except the globe. So if you take a look at the screen now, you'll see a interesting setup for a meeting. This is the meeting where they sign the Antarctic Treaty, and you'll notice all of these losers sitting in a triangle, and in the middle of the triangle is another triangle. Looks like the all-seeing eye. It's got some shrubbery. Could be the Earth. Could be filled with slaves that all believe a lie.
Oh yeah, no, that's most definitely true, but why don't we stick to scientific certainties here and logic instead of just making shit up? You're literally just making this shit up. You have no idea what the fuck you're talking about.
Why would they want to promote this lie, these globalists? Why would they want to tell us God doesn't exist? So they can rule us, and maybe they're worshiping someone.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. Why wouldn't they just pretend to be the rulers and the leaders appointed by God? I mean, for thousands of years, people pretended to be the avatars of God ruling the people underneath them. If they really are worshiping Satan like you imply here, isn't it going to be kind of awkward to explain to everybody, oh, by the way, we do believe in a God all of a sudden, and it's this one, even though we've been telling you for years that God doesn't exist.
Speaking of Satan, you think he's telling anybody to discredit Flat Earth?
If some of these folks were around when Columbus set sail, they must have been founding members of the Flat Earth Society. They would not have believed that the world was round.
Whatever you say, Osama.
I'm done.
Oh, if only we could be so lucky. So let's get into some of the proofs. First, we got your magical spinning ball of fun on the screen, and you'll notice that it is the winter, and so the southern tip, or Antarctica, is pointed directly at the sun, where it remains for the entire 6 months as the Earth processes around the sun.
No. At no point does Antarctica ever directly point at the sun, and it's not for 6 months. Only for a period of 3 weeks does Antarctica get all day long sun. However, that is at such an extreme angle that it barely is enough to make Antarctica warm.
This coming from the guy who said that NASA would never lie to us. However, if you just look it up here, NASA says that Antarctica has 6 months of sun and 6 months of darkness, which is bullshit, which is courtesy of your scientific entity and government body, NASA.
Even if you use this picture that you yourself provide here, you can clearly see that the sun is pointing directly at South America, not Antarctica.
So does anybody else realize that the tops and bottom of the globe would be where the ice caps are? But since they've tilted it now, we've got the Antarctica in the sun all the time, yet it's a huge, unimaginable, cold continent.
The tops and bottom are where the... Oh, you mean the tops and bottom of that shadow. Yeah, no, that doesn't make any sense because the pivot point has not changed.
All right, pay attention now. The rays of the sun would hit all of the Antarctic Circle, hitting all of Antarctica. That's what I was saying. And if you look at the ends of the shadow, those should be the poles. It does make a difference where the axis is. If no matter which way the axis is, the tops and bottom of the globe would be the ones that get the least amount of sun. Therefore, that's where the ice cap should be. And also, if you look at the equator, I was watching a video yesterday I thought was interesting that shows the way the water does drain on the equator and northern hemisphere and southern hemisphere, yet the equator goes right through the middle of the Earth, and with the tilt, it wouldn't work that way. The equator is at an angle.
Dude, what the hell are you talking about? Are you talking about how the world's centrifugal force from its spin forces more water towards the equator? How would that change at all because of the tilt? The centrifugal force is still on the same point. The equator is the center point of where the world spins. That doesn't change because of the tilt. All that has happened is the world is spinning on a tilt. It has not changed its spin point. What the fuck is happening?
Actually, I was talking about water draining differently in each hemisphere. You know, the Coriolis effect. See, look at the left. As the sun and the moon make their rounds above a flat Earth, see how the motion pushes to the right inside the north and to the left in the south? Exactly like what we see in reality. Now look to the right. Absolute nonsense. Go check it out on Google. Look at letter A is completely different than letter G. R is not even close. What is P talking about? L is complete nonsense, and M is just doesn't even make sense. And look at the letter I. How about the letter H? How about science for you? This is where the ice caps would be if the Earth was really on a tilt. And you'll see the red line, which represents the tilt, is where the ice caps are now, pointed directly at the sun. Makes a lot of sense, I guess, if you're stupid.
Okay, there's so much wrong here. Okay, first of all, that red line, that is the pivot point. That is the point in which the world spins around. That doesn't change because of the tilt. Also, second of all, the sun is not up there. You have changed the picture from a South Pole tilt to a North Pole tilt, trying to confuse us probably. The sun is not that high up. The sun is directly on the left in the center, right here. It is not up here. It is right here. The sun is pointing directly at northern Africa, not directly at the North Pole. The only way the North Pole and the South Pole would change position is if the pivot point of the spin of the Earth changes, and that at no point has ever changed, as far as we know in Earth history. Ever.
I guess a lot of people have had questions about the sun as it appears to move throughout the celestial sky. If you take a look here, I drew some green sight lines from the Earth, and I put those three little squares in the back, the red, the white, and the yellow. And you'll notice that as the Earth moves, so too does our sight line, which they call parallax. So this is something that I wanted to show because it is possible that many of you globetrotters don't know what you believe. So you'll notice that easily seen there in this little depiction, the sightline moves.
Yeah, as a really crude example of how this parallax observation system works, I would say yes, this is a good example. Even though the scale is completely off, I'll concede that this is how the system works.
Next, I'm going to show you what you actually believe. You have to believe that the sightline, as shown here in the bottom left, never moves. Meaning, see all those sightlines, the blue lines that go through, we got two going through the green box, two going through the red box, and one going through the yellow. Imagine that no matter where the Earth goes, even though it travels 500 million miles around the sun, it never changes its parallax. So you'll see I just swung the Earth out a little bit to the right there and added the gray sightlines, and look how much it changes.
What? The moon is further away from the Earth than that. Those are supposed to be stars that you're showing well in the distance. 500 million miles is nothing compared to the millions or billions of light years there are between us and those stars. How far away do you think those stars are? They're not millions of miles away. They're not billions of miles away. They're not trillions of miles away.
Actually, if you read one of those science books you're so fond of, you'll see that most of the stars are a few trillion miles away. In fact, moving only 584 million miles a year, in the 35 years I've been alive, the Earth has already gone the distance of one of those stars. So figure that out, genius.
They are thousands, millions, if not billions of light years away. That is exponentially further away than this scale model is showing.
Actually, the furthest that we can see is the star Cassiopeia, which is 16,000 light years away. So there is no such thing as millions and billions of light years away, and you're exponentially proving your adherence to science regardless of whether or not you know anything about it, which you don't, but you still trust and believe in it. Sounds a lot like a religion to me. No longer are any of the boxes being hit by the same sightline, yet in all the travels of the Earth, the stars remain exactly fixed.
In order to get that big of a difference in our perspective of distant stars, we would have to travel thousands of light years, and no person has ever done that in their lifetime.
As Johnny Cochran would say,
It doesn't fit. If it doesn't fit, you must acquit.
I'm going to take that as meaning that you're pro O.J. Simpson.
now you'll get to see some photos that clearly show you what the flat Earth looks like in the background there, until you add the GoPro camera, in which case now we live on a little tiny sphere. So this is what GoPro does for you. So when you see these kind of images, do know that they are bullshit and they are nowhere near matching our reality.
I'm sorry, are you saying that people have used aerial footage from a fisheye lens as proof that the world is curved? These are some stupid people that you're dealing with.
Therefore, they should all be trashed, thrown away, gotten rid of, ignored.
Oh yeah, I agree. We should just throw all that out because it's useless. You know, forget that somebody can put that in their photo album and say, hey, I was up in a balloon. No, fuck you. You shouldn't have used a fisheye lens. You are ruining science, you asshole. You are part of the problem.
You asked me my feelings on NASA and GoPro.
You know, I can almost understand your theory that NASA is lying, but GoPro is just trying to sell cameras to surfers. They're not trying to lie to people.
Well, if you took a look at NASA's photos and saw how much they use that GoPro camera, maybe you would feel the same way, as it clearly isn't showing reality, but clearly is what most people think is reality, and it's not. We don't live on a ball. I also wanted to point out from section 1 that if you had any doubt about where the allegiance lies with Sir Skeptibit, you can just watch this little clip here and then decide who you think he's working for. I don't know.
Could it be Satan?
Look how he even has to go as far as to cut off the fingers. You know, I'm just saying. Guy worships the devil. Oh joy, here comes another video of him not listening to a word I say.
Last time on Armored Skeptic.
If the world really was round, wouldn't there be some sort of evidence we can search out for ourselves?
And you'll see the red line, which represents the tilt, is where the ice caps are now, pointed directly at the sun. Makes a lot of sense, I guess, if you're stupid.
The sun is not that high up. The sun is directly on the left in the center, right here. It is not up here, it is right here. The sun is pointing directly at northern Africa, not directly at the North Pole.
Of all the scenes he could have chose from, he had to choose the one with the Satan symbol.
Man, you are one pathetic loser.
But let's look now at an unsolved mystery, the mystery of the magical globe spinning, flying through space.
The pièce de résistance.
Once you get man to believe he can live on a globe, what else could you convince him of? That man went to the moon, perhaps, with the technology of an Etch-a-Sketch?
Sir, I will have you know that we had perfected the Etch-a-Sketch by then. Do you realize we had computers in the 60s, right? You know, we had computers back then.
Oh yeah, I knew that we had computers. That much I knew. But did you know that a USB memory stick is more powerful than the computers that put man on the moon? I mean, come on. This is just proof that humans will believe anything science says. And that is without a doubt. In 1969 to 1972, humans went 240,000 miles from the Earth. Nobody was hurt or killed. The mission was played live on TV for all to see. From 1972 to 2015, however, humans have only gone 400 miles maximum. The ISS flies 250 miles in orbit and can only be shown live 15 minutes every hour, because we have to lose signal on the dark side of the Earth. But you can see photos from Mars, sent back from 80 million miles. It is easy. Plus, Google will be placing 300 weather balloons in the upper atmosphere so that people everywhere can get 3G internet coverage. This makes all the sense of the world, and no skeptic need ever question it. Yes, humans in space, 2015 versus 1969 to 1972. Well, we've gone 0.17% as far as we went 50 years ago. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. This chart here on the left, you can see the CPU speed in gigahertz. As you can see, it's exponentially grown since 1969. Then right below that, you'll see how far we've gone away from the Earth. And you'll see right about 1972, we dropped from 240,000 miles to 400 miles, being the maximum we've gone since then. In fact, remember your old Game Boy? Yeah, that thing was pretty cool, right? How about it's about 7 times as powerful as the computer that supposedly took Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin to the moon? I smell bullshit. That stars are trillions of miles away.
No, they're much further away than that.
Oh, again, your blind worship and love of science, despite your complete lack of knowledge, is called a belief. It is having faith. It's your religion. Face it. You're a skeptic of all the things that might prove God and a faithful believer in all the things that don't. That the Russians are your enemy?
What?
That there was a Cold War and a space race in which a shot was never fired.
Yeah, that's the definition of a Cold War.
Could they convince them that the Arabs want you dead?
Oh, which Arabs? There are Arabs that are doing a pretty good job of convincing us on their own, thank you very much.
And that ISIS beheads people viciously, but always turns off the camera right before and speaks in British accent.
I can actually understand that one, because at least I too am skeptical of things that I cannot see with my own eyes.
Excuse me? You too are skeptical of things you've never seen with your own eyes? What about the curve of the Earth or other planets? How about stars that are suns? How about gravity, dark matter, black holes, Earth-like planets? How about the cosmic microwave background, Antarctica, the rover on Mars, the core of the Earth, Aristophanes' book, Man on the Moon, real images of Earth, 92 million miles away is the sun, the weight of the Earth? How about dinosaurs? I don't know, evolution? How about the Big Bang? Yeah, you're real skeptical.
So you know the British accent thing makes sense, right? ISIS is made up of people from all around the world. Why would they have somebody that can't speak English giving messages to English-speaking people?
That taxation is good, that evolution is true, that God doesn't exist, that you're not smarter than a 5th grader, that you're not a unique individual, and that you're only from supernova bits.
Whoa, conspiracy theories much?
You're right. What am I thinking? The government is definitely there for my good, and a plane definitely hit the Pentagon. It's without a doubt. Yep, look at that picture. Oh yeah, I went right through it. Makes sense. You're right. My bad. First image here is pretty clear to see what I'm showing. If you've ever done perspective drawing, this just shows you that the end of that bridge there at the horizon could look like a point, but the horizon is flat.
I won't argue that the horizon is flat. In fact, the horizon is supposed to be flat if we're on a globe. If the world is flat, that horizon should continue on forever, and we should be able to see into infinity to where that dock actually ends.
Oh, see into infinity. We're going to take some flights now, take a look what's seen from the airplane, because if one more clown comes into the comment and tells me that they see a curve from a plane, flip out, man.
Oh, you don't have to get that angry at the trolls. I mean, sure, nobody in their right mind would ever say that they see a curve on the horizon when they're only airplane height up from the ground. I mean, sure, nobody in their right mind would ever say that they see a curve on the horizon when they're only airplane height up from the ground. I mean, sure, nobody in their right mind would ever say that they see a curve on the horizon when they're only airplane height up from the ground.
You'll see here I'm pointing out that this is just a layer of clouds. Otherwise, the Earth is an infinite plane, flat as could be.
But you believe the Earth goes on forever? I mean, even most flat earthers don't think the Earth is an infinite plane.
The horizon rises to my eye level no matter how high I get. So in my book, until I see any kind of ends of the Earth, yeah, it's infinite. That is not a curve. If you want to picture that as a curve, then you need to continue that circle out. Imagine drawing that line all the way out as a circle. It would be about 100 times bigger than the Earth.
Yeah, you're right. That's not a curve. You would have to be much, much higher. You'd have to be above the Earth's atmosphere before you even start seeing any kind of curve. And even then, you're not going to catch it on a camera. No camera has as wide an angle as you need without you eventually getting the distortion of the fisheye lenses. The only way to see the Earth's curve from a camera is to film it from orbit.
Nicholas Copernicus was not the first person to prove that the Earth goes around the sun, because it's never been proven. He simply was the first one to say it. That's it.
No, he was the first to prove it. The first person to ever accurately prove that the world was round was Eratosthenes back in the 3rd century BC in Greece. During the summer solstice, when the sun was at its highest point over the northern hemisphere, he and an assistant both stuck sticks into the ground, one in Alexandria and one in Syene. One stick had a shadow that was almost directly straight down, and the other stick had a shadow that was pointing north. This was enough evidence to prove that the Earth had a curvature to it. And using this information, he was pretty damn close to guessing what the world's circumference was.
And then, it's really surprising how wrong you can actually be. Copernicus did not discover that the Earth goes around the sun. In fact, he was quoted as saying, "So far as hypotheses are concerned, let no one expect anything certain from astronomy, which cannot furnish it, lest he accept as the truth ideas conceived for another purpose, and depart from this study a greater fool than when he entered it." Also, you seem to not understand, well, much, if anything. See this little drawing here? See how when you have a small sun, say 32 miles in diameter, and a flat Earth, well, if the sun is above somebody's head in Cyrene, and another person is in Alexandria and they both have sticks, well, look at that. One stick has no shadow while the other one has a shadow. Yet according to Sir Skeptibit, this experiment that assumed the Earth was a ball and that the sun was an infinite distance away proved that the Earth was curved. Yeah, you'll pretty much take anything they say, won't you? And where do you guys get off in making fun of Christians and religious people when do you know where your science came from? Do you think that there was atheists walking around preaching science 400 years ago? Do you think Copernicus was an atheist? No, these guys were Christians. René Descartes, Galileo, Kepler, Francis Bacon, Tycho Brahe, Newton, all these guys were Christians, and they're the ones who came up with the things that you now back and make fun of Christians with.
Christian scientists are after what any scientist is after, the truth. They want to know how things work, why things are what they are. And if God is the answer, so be it. But God had to do it in a certain way, right? God had to give the earth a certain shape, correct? So what if the world is round? Why wouldn't a God create a round world? Why wouldn't a God create a solar system or a universe?
You just believe whatever you're told and walk around with your chest puffed out, acting like you're cool, commenting on my videos. Oh, you don't believe in gravity, ha 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 ha.
Yeah, well, if you don't believe in gravity, what is it that keeps you stuck to the ground? What's the name of that force?
How about weight? You know, like items fall to the earth by weight because they are matter which has mass. Let's look at the 1828 Webster's Dictionary, Volume 1. gravity, meaning heavy, weight, heaviness. Number 2, in philosophy, that force by which bodies tend or are pressed or drawn towards the center or towards another center. In the effect of that force, in which the last sense, gravity, is synonymous with weight. It's weight.
No, I don't believe that people are upside down on the bottom of a sphere, because it's impossible.
Why is it impossible? It's not impossible for a bubble to stay stuck to a sphere that's submerged in water. Why wouldn't that bubble just escape up into the air? Wouldn't that be easier? No, because there are other forces that are keeping it there. Just like there's a force keeping the penguins stuck to the bottom of Antarctica.
Let's get back to looking at some other proofs besides just what we're told from people who lived 500 years ago, who obviously knew nothing if they thought the sun was 3 million miles, and now you guys think it's 92. Who knows what it'll be tomorrow?
You realize, of course, that the things that we were told by people 500 years ago about gravity and the world being round turned out to be true, right? And the things that we were told about the sun being a certain million miles away, how could they have known? There's no way they could have known how far away it was.
Do you understand even slightly what my channel is about? Or what any of my videos are about? Of course I don't understand that everything that they said turned out to be true, or I wouldn't be making videos saying that it wasn't.
We got Felix Baumgartner at 127,000 feet. You can look out his little window there, and what do you see? Curved or flat?
Flat. Do you remember Lanky Larry? Lanky Larry's head is well above where Felix Baumgartner's pod was.
And now they switched camera views, and what is that?
A picture of the Earth as taken from a fisheye lens. Even if he was able to claim that he saw any amount of curve of the Earth from that perspective, there's no technology today that's able to show exactly what the human eye can see. Any camera that would show that same perspective would have distortion.
So it just went from flat to having the biggest arc ever seen. I mean, this is what you guys believe.
His pod had 4 separate external cameras. One to see him directly straight on as he walked out of the pod, one from the opposite angle where he could see his right side, and then there were 2 on his left side. One was a fisheye lens and one was a normal camera. This is what Felix would have seen from his angle. This is what a normal non-distorted camera looks like. Nobody is claiming that this footage is proof that the world is curved. Who is telling you this footage is proof that the world is curved? Nobody with half a brain would say that to you.
And just because it has NASA written on the side of that little capsule, you guys are ready to masturbate over it.
Actually, it says Red Bull on the side of that capsule.
Ever heard of a joke? Like evolution?
So let's watch Atlantis take off from a plane. This excited me. I said, woo, I'll get to see the first thing enter space. But of course, I thought that, but I knew better to ever think that NASA would show us anything other than the same old shit they always show us. So go ahead and watch this, and let's see how the video ends. I mean, honestly, who would stop that video right there?
You can watch footage of a rocket entering space anytime you want from the ground, but you don't actually see it enter space. It doesn't look differently. It just eventually gets smaller and smaller to the point where you can't see it anymore.
Yeah, smaller and smaller till you can't see it anymore. Sure.
Here we see a hill or a curve. You can do this in the front of your house if you've got one of these. Just take a camera and raise it from the ground level straight up, and you'll see how the horizon line drops down. You can see in every one of these. Test it yourself. Drops. This hill drops. Does anybody see that?
Yeah, I don't see your point though. The horizon in the distance is staying at the exact same spot. If it drops or raises in the distance, it's because the cameraman is tilting the camera. What are you doing to ensure the camera stays perfectly still? Are you using a boom arm? Are you using a tripod? Or are you just fucking lifting it?
The horizon in the background stays in the same spot because it's flat. Earth is flat.
about. Unless you're at the equator, you're going to see the stars kind of curve in the sky. There's going to be a pivot point. One thing these animations don't show is the stars moving at the exact same speed as the sun, which would suggest either the whole sky is moving at the same time, or, follow with me now, the fucking Earth is spinning and everything that we see in the sky is relatively staying still to our perspective.
Ooh, me. I got it. I take choice A. Yeah, I'm gonna go with choice A.
Most observatories are pretty far north or pretty far south, so you're going to see a pivot point in the sky where the north or the south pole actually pivots. That's unavoidable. There aren't any observatories on the equator because there's very terrible observation conditions on those areas. So you can see quite clearly in these time lapses, the stars are all moving in unison with each other. But if you'll see in these last few time lapses, the sun is moving at the exact same speed as the stars.
Look at that little box on the left, and you can see how University of California teaches lies. I'm sure this is what they show all those highly educated members of academia with their diplomas from the University of California and their sweater vest. And you'll notice that the water quickly rises in the ocean. This is another thing they should teach, I'm sure. Look how much higher that water is now compared to that brown line is when it started. So this is no proof of anything other than they edited this video and continued to move the camera lower and lower to give the impression of the boat going over the horizon.
I don't understand. If the camera was being lowered more and more to make it look like the water was rising, how would that make the ship look like it was disappearing over the horizon the exact same way? If anything, all it should have done is changed our perspective of the boat.
Let me go ahead and recommend for you a great video. It's called Boats Prove No Curvature, Earth is Flat. It's by a fantastic creator named Jeranism. You could just put it into the search there on YouTube and it'll come right up. And you can watch, he actually went to the beach and watched boats go out past the so-called horizon. And you'll clearly see what happens and that there's things such as swell and waves in the front that will distort your perception or your view of the boat in the back. Also, here's a little image you might want to take a look at. Now, I understand you're an intellectual and all, but can you hang with me here for a second? And just realize that if the camera was lowered and it was originally at the height of the first hurdle, as you lowered it, well, the hurdles behind it would fall further behind it. So you could easily lower the camera and that would cause the boat behind the first hurdle to easily fall behind, making it look like that second hurdle was shorter than the first, when in actuality, it's the exact same height. Watch my video, learn something.
You also notice that it did cut every time the boat moved further.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize that you wanted to see the full 2-hour version. Go to the ocean and watch a ship go away. You will see the same thing. Put the camera on the tripod so that you don't get accused of raising or lowering the camera like whoever filmed that film. And the last thing you will see is the top of the mast.
So it took that boat 2 hours to go 3.5 miles? It's a pretty quick boat. Now pay attention here, since you said it would look like the boat is flying off into space. Pay close attention. Do you see how that boat looks like it's flying off into space? That's because the entire bit of water behind the line that we can see is simply being miraged. And it just so happens it's reflecting the sky, which also happens to be behind the boat. Therefore, nothing is going over any curve. Nothing is going over any edge. It's the boat is riding on top of water that we can't see. It's called a mirage. It happens often. It doesn't bring buildings up thousands of feet to appear on our horizon, but it does do exactly what we just saw. Watch my video. Learn something.
So you can see that all it is a mirage. It is the melting of the horizon because of the refraction, just like you see here, the mirage in the road.
That doesn't explain why the mast continues to go down, though. If the optical illusion works the way that you say, why doesn't it look like the ship floats off into space instead of sinks down further into the horizon?
Or is somebody going to tell me that that yellow truck has now gone over the edge of the curved earth?
No, it looks like that truck is flying away, but that ship didn't look like it was flying away. It looked like it sank.
Next we get to see Orion. All right. right, NASA, spend more of our tax money on nothing.
Orion now at an altitude of 470,000 feet, 900 miles from its splashdown target. Guidance officer confirms that Orion has reached entry interface. The moment of truth for Orion for the next 9 minutes, 45 seconds.
Now, first thing that hits my brain is
the pain from the electroshock therapy.
I understand that we have to add these special tiles to the bottom of the shuttle so that it can withstand the 400 or 4,000, 3,000 to 4,000 degrees as it re-enters the atmosphere and goes through this plasma shield or something. So as they are re-entering, they have to angle the space shuttle so that it hits just perfectly, or else Wikipedia says it might skip, or they might fake kill a bunch of people in a shuttle disaster too. A lot of things NASA can do. Pretty amazing.
Whoa, so you're saying those astronauts that lost their lives in all of those disasters where shuttles exploded for one reason or another, those were all fake? Those are all fake. That's what you're telling us.
But I'm certainly telling you to do your own research, because there's a lot of people who do a lot of crazy things for some money. And if you look into it, it's a pretty weird coincidence that a lot of those people are still alive with the same names and the same age. Yeah, they don't even care to change their names because people like you would never believe that NASA could do something so terrible as faking deaths. No way.
But my problem with this is, how are we looking through a piece of glass?
What?
Can somebody please find me the glass that can withstand 4,000 degrees? Because I can find glass that can withstand 2,500 degrees.
The only part of the shuttle that's exposed to that amount of heat is the underbelly of the shuttle, and that's all carbon fiber. It's all shielding. The glass never touches the flame. Look at this picture. The flames deflect around the glass that's on the shuttle.
Wait, please don't tell me you don't think that picture's real, do you?
We're 4 minutes away from the jettison of the forward bay cover at the very top of the spacecraft that will begin the chute deployment sequence.
Who calls it a chute deployment sequence?
NASA! NASA calls it that! NASA!
Oh, that group of pathetic Masons? I know who they are. They even explain how they flip a spaceship with a U-turn and then dock with the ISS. It's pretty cool to watch.
Dispersion on ascent.
Now we're on the perfect phasing orbit.
We're perfectly set, perfectly circular orbit, if that's where we want to be. Okay. And now we're just waiting, and when the space station's at the exact right spot, we're going to do one more Hohmann transfer, 2 burns, and it would actually send us out in front of the space station. So what we'll do is we wait, and right when we get in front of the space station, we turn the rocket around, and we do a 3rd burn now, and it sets us perfectly up in front of the space station.
So you do a U-turn in space?
You do a U-turn in space, and you actually see it. You watch the Earth go all the way by, you go backwards, you hit the brakes just a tiny bit, then you flip your spaceship back around, point it at the space station, and now we're sitting right in front of the ISS, and we're just waiting, and then we're going to go real slow, proximity operations, and we're flying it just like an airplane, and we go in and dock.
Sweet. Okay, so it's just X, Y, Z, roll, pitch, yaw at that point.
Exactly.
That's fantastic. How long does it take to actually dock to the space station?
It takes about a half an hour. From the time you get the proxops, we're going to go really slow, and it takes about a half an hour to get that docking complete.
Okay,
you could do it much quicker, but I mean, when you have 2 big pieces of metal that are going 17,500 miles an hour, you want to make sure they touch each other pretty gently.
And do you hear these binaural beats in the background? Don't put your headphones on or you'll end up shooting up a theater in Aurora.
Jesus Christ, dude. Can you stick to one conspiracy theory at a time, please?
And we've reacquired signal from Orion. Good data being processed.
Oh, thank God. They got good data. Honey, they got good data.
Aw, that's cute, pretending you're in a relationship.
Whew. Do you really think you're the right person to be talking about pretend relationships?
I was worried. Sweating that one out. Very amazing science going on there. So now you'll see we are back, well, almost through the atmosphere right now. There's still some fire. And in a second, you're going to see how this proves the flat Earth. Now here, you will see
Flight Dynamics Officer reports that we're tracking right down the middle.
Honey, they're tracking right down the middle. Sweet. This is going to help our lives immensely.
All right, stop pretending you have a girlfriend. You're just insulting both of us now.
It's called a marriage certificate. Perhaps you should look it up when your girlfriend turns 18.
Ow.
Here you can see it actually looks convex.
You mean concave. Normally it is convex.
You'll see here this is balancing out. And ladies and gentlemen, the Earth is not a globe. You know this by now. If it were, imagine the amount of pictures we'd have.
It's a fisheye lens. You've already berated fisheye lenses. Why are you using a fisheye lens as proof now?
If we'd been to the moon, imagine how many times we would have gone back.
Yeah, we only went back a couple. Do you not realize how expensive a moon mission is?
Imagine the condominiums.
You think people would be living on the moon? There is no oxygen on the moon.
Is there oxygen on Mars? Because I'm pretty sure people are planning on going and living there in the latest NASA hoax.
So just some crap Wikipedia sites, and 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit, it says, is the temperature at the re-entry, even though the announcer said 4,000. We'll take 3 to 4,000, let's say. They've got a bunch of BS materials, you know, reinforced carbon. That exists.
Yeah, it does exist. Here's a picture of some. Look it up.
Fibrous refractory composite insulation. We've got toughened unipiece fibrous insulation. We've got made-upica, stupidica, ceramic tiles.
You're just assuming that all of these materials are made up simply because you don't want them to exist. How hard is it to look up how these things are made? You can go to museums and see examples of these things. Go to NASA. They have a viewing area where you can see these materials.
Even though the outside surface of the shuttle could not withstand higher than 347 degrees. And if you look at the bottom there, it says that the tiles had to be glued on. Yes, you heard me correctly. Glued. You know, that kind of glue that can withstand 4,000 degrees. I think it's called Elmer's.
No, you're looking right at the wiki site. It says silicone glue. Very similar to bathroom caulking. Silicone glue is well known for being heat and cold resistant. And the glue isn't directly on the belly of the shuttle. It doesn't receive any direct heat from the 4,000 degree flames that blast off of the tiles. The tiles absorb the heat and dissipate it. Do some research. Look at how these things work. Go to NASA, ask the people at the museum. Don't fucking come on the internet and just make shit up because you don't want to accept it as true.
Recap, do your research.
Yeah, in this video, only one of us did research.
Yeah, you did a lot of research. All those billions and trillions of light years away for the stars that we see resetting every January 1st. Yeah, you did a lot of research on that spherical... Yeah, you did a lot of research on that silicone glue. Lowest temperature it can withstand is negative 100 degrees Fahrenheit, and the highest is 390 for long periods, and even at short periods it can only withstand 575 degrees Fahrenheit. So do you really think it made it through that 4,000 degrees? I don't. But the difference between you and I is you'll believe anything NASA says, and then you tell other people, just go ask NASA. Go ask them. Go look at the museum. Go look at the displays. Look at Wikipedia. Look this stuff up. Because, of course, Wikipedia is going to tell you it's true. But it's not. That's the whole point. Start over. Watch my videos again.
Get in a plane and go fly. And stop saying you see a curve.
Some people have claimed to see the curvature of the Earth from up in the airplane. 30,000 feet should be high enough to see a bulge, but you're never going to see the horizon curve. Remember Lanky Larry. You might see the bulge of the Earth, but no matter what direction you look in, you're going to see a straight line. The only way we would see a curve on the horizon is if the world was the shape of a cylinder.
And you also don't see boats going over the horizon, so stop saying that.
Are you sure? Let me try. Oh, there it goes. Oh, it looks like it's got one. It's gonna go.
Well, that was certainly worth $2,500. So, to recap, some guy, Sir Skeptibit, tried to challenge me to a duel. I don't know, he wanted to do some Renaissance thing or some cosplay. I don't know. He was always using his shield and he just didn't bring his A game. So, go watch his videos. You'll notice he doesn't really have an A game. He doesn't understand the meaning of skeptic. He thinks it means to question what anyone tells you unless their name is NASA, or someone says someone wrote it in 300 BC and there are no surviving copies. So basically I had to do what I always do and put him in his place, a couple chops here and there, and eventually just threw him to the ground. He stood there very digested with the whole thing. He almost cried. And so I ended up having to dispatch of his limbs. You know, That's the way life goes. So now, Mr. Armored Skeptic. You're not much of a skeptic, that's for sure. You're an atheist who basically makes money for making fun of Christians. Ooh, so brave. Chivalry certainly isn't dead, huh? Maybe you don't realize it, but science is the study of the natural world through the scientific method. It expands our understanding and gives us useful applications and tools to improve the lives of those who live here. You, sir, believe in something called scientism. It is your religion, and is courtesy of Lawrence Krauss and Neil deGrasse Tyson and Richard Dawkins and these kind of clowns that take science and the fact that it isn't allowed to discuss the supernatural and then use it to disprove the supernatural. Once you have made that leap of faith to the belief that science is the only source of human knowledge, you have gone and decided to now accept a theological viewpoint on life called scientism. It cannot be tested, it cannot be falsified, and therefore, by its own definition, is unscientific. Science is a religion. The only difference is that Christians know they believe in a religion, and you guys don't. If you don't trust science, you're an idiot. It's as if you think that current and previous scientific findings are facts. If something is true until proven false, basically what that means is a scientist can never be sure about anything, which then makes it so that he must have faith to be a scientist. Devotion to science is devotion to religion. We can test things, but it is still a human who ultimately decides. And so science decides everything in favor of science over God, because science hates God and loves itself. Science is your religion. If you did any real science, it would walk you right back to your Creator. False science will surround itself with a faith far beyond any faith any Christian might have, because it is entirely baseless. It has no foundation besides the hopes and dreams of a few dweebs. It is ridicule with supposition. Its premise and foundation are built on the supposition itself and hope that there is no God. True science will take that which is repeatable and make its foundation upon that. The Darwinian dream of people like Dawkins is so far-fetched it's absolutely ludicrous. We aren't sure about many things. Many things could be true, but scientists choose to believe in science. Didn't you notice that the only people doing experiments or space travel is the government? There's a reason why space and NASA was immediately militarized. It's so that they could give the answers, and so no one goes and looks for them themselves. And then they taught it in schools so that the intellectuals are taught the lies, and then they teach the lies themselves. It's an absolute awful system, and you love it. The form of scientism that you follow is no different than the very religions that you can't stand. It's dogmatic, it's authoritative, it's for profit, and used for control and power. Time to be a real skeptic and step into reality. Atheism is nonsense, and honestly, I think you're actually smarter than that. This has been Jeranism, reminding you to be nice to each other, don't lie to each other, and don't steal content without giving attribution. And as always, do your own research, open up your mind, because there's truth inside. Till next time.